my name is Laimonas. I know in Latvia people sometimes call me Laimonis. Any version is fine, yeah? I wanted to ask you a little bit now, so you were on excursion, right? Exploring Telšiai? Good. I will ask you to indicate with your hand. If it was a good walk and good exploration, you show like this. And if it was like so-so, you show like that. And you think you better never came to Telšiai ever, you show like that, okay? So, 1, 2, 3. How was it for you? Don't lie. Alright. You can look around. Good, good, good. Rather positive, yeah? A bit too cold maybe and a bit windy, I suppose. Good, now you know where you are, what's around, what is the escape route, just in case, yeah, if things get tricky. Yeah, we are in this beautiful building. That's where priests are learning to become priests, actually. Well, we're here. Now we'll be using it as an event, as a space for our common dialogue. Now I said my name, but I really don't know your names. I saw the list, but it's not easy to remember 100 names, right? So we'll do a simple thing. I will ask you to say your name, but all at once. And I will ask you to say it loud and proud. Yeah? And let's see what you will also hear at the same time. Okay? Ready? 3, 2, 1. Very good, very good. Was it too low? No? Okay. You heard, what name you heard except of yours? Not sure. Okay, let's try one more time. 3, 2, 1. Yes. There was a lot of us. Good. At first, I would like also to introduce you some people who were supporting this event to make it happen, and people who will be guiding you through the discussions. There was a lot of work and a lot of communication going on with Auxe from here, from Local Europe Direct. You can, yeah, say hi to her, and we can applaud. She did a great job, really. Yes. And I know it was a lot in communication with your colleague Tabita from Latvian Europe Direct. Where are you? Yes. She was doing a big job back in Latvia before, right? Then we have, you know that in the later in the afternoon there will be quite some work going on in smaller groups, and there will be moderators helping you to a bit split into smaller groups, talk together, and so on. So I would like that you would just see some faces. You might not remember their names, but later you will discover. So there is the whole team actually from European Commission representation in Lithuania. And I will just say their names, and you just show yourself up. So we have Aneta, yes, Aušrinė, Justinas, yes, there. Vitanis, there, behind the computer. Martinas. I will be also helping you with one of the groups. And you probably also noticed that there is some kind of drawing happening in that corner. Somebody's drawing on the wall, you know. So we often teach not to draw on the wall, but that's happening. So we have Agne over there. Yes. The role of Agne is, we call it a graphic recorder here, and Agne will be trying to put complex things into a simple drawing. Okay? So if you think you missed some important moment, you missed the point of all these clever speeches and clever words, you know, around the EU and so on, you can still always turn your head, or just before going, maybe for lunch or for the break, you can always like take a look there, come closer, check what is the drawing over there, maybe even make a photo, maybe even post it somewhere online, you know, if you will find something interesting. Yeah, you have also 2 hashtags of this event. So if you will be posting, and this is what we ask you, we need publicity, we need your support, and sometimes making a small post somewhere where you are online and using these hashtags of EU dialogues and future of Europe, because that's what you're going to be deciding, the future of Europe. All right, so yeah, Latvian and Lithuanian group. Can I ask Latvians to stand up and to see where are you? All right. Yes, look around. Yes. Thank you very much. Then, yes, thank you. Lithuanians to stand up, also to see, so you know you can look around and see who is cool. Good. A little bit bigger crowd. Yes. Okay, thank you very much. As far as you will be further working in smaller groups later on, and you will need actually to discuss, you will need to sometimes maybe even confront each other a little bit. It's sometimes good also to have some kind of conversation, some kind of contact before. So now I will give you a small mission. So each Latvian needs to find at least 1 Lithuanian, or maybe even 2 Lithuanians, because we have more or less like 50 something from Lithuania and around 40 people from Latvia. Very small thing. Just manage to find person from another country. Okay? So both Lithuanians can make a step and find somebody, and then somebody from Latvia can do the same. Find one person from another country, introduce each other, say hi to each other, and your mission is to find one thing, at least one thing, that you have in common. Maybe something you like, maybe something you hate, maybe, you know, anything that can be something in common between 2 of you. Maybe sometimes it will be a trio, but most important that you stand up now and find somebody from another country and find something in common, okay? And introduce yourself to each other. Conversations continue. People are gossiping. Oh, met this strange guy, you know, like. All right. I have a question now to you. Could some people from the crowd name what was that thing you found in common?
Cars.
You both going to school? You both are 18. Wow. Okay. What was that? Cars. You love cars. Or you drive cars? Yes. All right. You build cars? Not yet. All right. Anything else?
Pancakes with cheese.
Pancakes with cheese. Oh, my favorite also. Very good. All right. Something else? Traveling. Okay. What? Something else? Something maybe, you know, not so obvious maybe? That You managed to somehow get to know that?
Personal positions about something.
All right. You managed to talk about this already? Cool. Personal position, personal attitude. All right. Very good. And that's what you're going to need. I think in the afternoon there will be a lot about your values and your attitudes. What is important for you as a young person, as a young citizen in European Union. So there will be a chance really to check what is your position concerning certain questions. So good luck in that. All right, again, I wanted to a little bit to know more things, and perhaps you will find out more things about each other. Can those people raise your hand if you have ever had any kind of discussion about European Union? Wow, that's a lot. Probably it was in Latvia, right? All right. Now, raise your hand those who were in activity with more than 100 people. So activity like this, in any kind of activity, you know, like a conference, seminar, some kind of gathering. All right. Good. Raise your hands if you have got some kind of salary or income for your work. You sold something, you had some job, maybe in summer. Who got some money, you know, as an income, not the pocket money, okay, from parents. All right, yeah, all right, good, yeah. Raise your hand, but a bit like, you know, more brave, so we could see who has a say, who has an influence on your family budget. When you need to decide a little bit, you know, what we spend money on, or how expensive should be our holiday, or, you know, things like that. Who have a say in the family about the budget? Yes, look around, what other people are voting. All right. Maybe like 15% more or less. Okay. All right, good. We will be using, because it's a big group and sometimes difficult to get to know or to talk to all of you or to know opinion of yours, yeah? We will be testing now one tool that we will come back to that tool also later in the afternoon, because we need to know your opinion, and for this you will need also to use your mobile phone if you have it, yeah? We will use a tool that is called slido.com. What you need to do now, use your phone. If you have mobile data, maybe it will be easier in mobile data. And in EU, you can also use roaming freely, right? But if not, there is also a free Wi-Fi without any password, which is Conferencia something. Join the internet, enter this address, and put the hashtag of letters EUR, yeah, E-U-R. Okay, and we have a question for you. If you put that hashtag, which is still here, so that's the code to enter, yeah, and we have some questions. What do you expect from this meeting? Have fun? Find out more about EU? Free food? Find a partner from another country? Why not? Practice some English? Huh? Alright? Show others my intellect? Yes, of course. Alright, let's see what will be the opinions. We'll give some time so you would know how that system works. If you don't have your mobile or the battery got low, talk to your neighbor and then vote together, okay? Okay. having fun are the leaders. Nobody wants to show their intellect yet. Okay. Right. 72, 73, good. So we have 2/3 of the group who voted already, and it's increasing, but we clearly see some leading options here. So seeing the results, I probably need to cancel my contract with the European Commission, and I need to get some clown nose and maybe some wig. I'm going to learn some tricks to do some fun, okay? All right. Yeah, I believe so. You might have some fun, even though by doing serious business, okay? Sometimes we call it a serious fun. And being seriously funny, that's an important skill. And not everybody can have it, but we can always practice it. So also finding fun in a serious stuff can be, you can take it as a personal challenge, yeah. How to have fun, but still do good, needed things, and yeah, quite serious stuff really, yeah. So we're gonna be back to Slido from time to time, especially in the afternoon. There will be introduction to the topics that you will be later on discussing, and there we will need also your opinion and your guess, and maybe there will be also a chance to show your intellect there. All right? Good. All right, I think we warmed up a little bit. How do you feel now? Yeah, okay, good. All right, then we actually wanted to give a little bit of intro of what is going on here, why are we gathering, why these events are happening, and I will invite people who are talking, dreaming probably, and doing things about EU probably almost every single day. You know, not like, okay, once in a year or maybe once in 12 years by being in school or something like that, but really people who know a lot about EU, who are representing EU in a way in their countries. So I would like to welcome two guests. So Arnoldas Pranckevičius, who is head of European Commission representation in Lithuania, and Andris Kuznieks, who is head of similar institution, but only in Latvia. Yes, so please welcome. Yes. Yeah, you can. Yeah,
we'll stole the microphone for you.
All right.
As we are, in a way, representing the European Union in Latvia and Lithuania. Laba diena and labdien to everyone. So great that you are here in such big number from Jelgava, from Telšiai, and from Mažeikiai. And of course, we're very happy that, that you participated in this program, which is unique. Unique, indeed, I would say, initiative of the European Commission, trying to cross the border, engage the youth, the people, and Europeans. We do it in 14 different countries. So for instance, like here we are Latvia and Lithuania, we have the same project between Poland and Germany, or Spain and France, or Italy and Malta, or indeed Estonia and Finland, a bit colder there than here today in Šiauliai. So, and the idea of this project is really to think as Europeans. We're all different in the way we are from different countries. We're Latvian, we're Lithuanian, we're Russian, you know, we are German or Polish. But what reunites us here is the sense of belonging to the same Europe. And I think your answers to the questions, in fact, were all about Europe. Because having fun, having food, learning foreign languages, English, meeting other people and interacting is also what is about European Union. Is also finding and learning more about European Union. So the way I interpret the vote is that actually most of you voted for Europe. But what kind of Europe? And this is the idea of today's meeting, is first of all to answer the question what Europe has done for us, or what is it doing for us, and secondly, what you expect from Europe? What is your future idea of Europe? And here I give the word to Andres for his welcome word.
Thank you, Arnoldas. Welcome also from us from Riga office, and we are really glad that we can speak with you here. And you know, there's a saying that you don't choose your relatives and you also don't choose your neighbors. So we are bound by our borders, and we are also united by our borders. And I think that is very important also when you all gather here. And when we speak about Europe, I mean, our moderator was saying that we dream about Europe every night, and we work and we speak, etc. But I mean, it's also that if you think about yourselves, Europe is not Brussels, Europe is us, Europe is you, because we are part of the Europe. When you were, around 3 years old, our both countries joined the European Union. So you have been actually growing together with Latvia and Lithuania as members of Europe. And I think that's also what we are going to discuss, that you as responsible citizens of European Union, you are the ones who are the new voters. You will be the ones who will be making the future, because we are getting old already, unfortunately. So I wish you very good discussions. We will speak with you later on also, when we will give some introduction to the topics, and be active and think about Europe. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. And I would like to invite another person who is linked to one big thing which is going to happen this year. What is that? Something related very much to EU? Yes, some kind of elections. What kind of elections? European elections, yes. And who else, if not a person representing European Parliament in Lithuania, can actually give a good introduction about it, what we can expect, and maybe what is our role in the elections, and what's the, what we as young people can do about it. So I would like to invite Ms. Daiva Jakaitė from European Parliament Liaison Office in Lithuania to give a short introduction of what's gonna happen this year. So.
Labdien, laba diena, ačiū, thank you, paldies. It's very nice to be here, and since I am born in Šiauliai, Jelgava is a very close city to myself. In my childhood we were really going very often shopping to Jelgava and then sometimes to Riga. So it's very, very nice to be here. Secondly, today in the morning I decided it's too slippery to drive. So I came by train, and I was posting on Facebook that I think it's since maybe 20 years I'm going again by train in Lithuania. Even if I do this when I'm on my missions to France or Belgium or so on. So again, some memories came to me that in fact it was possible to go by train from Vilnius to Riga, from Šiauliai to Riga. And I hope very much so that with some assistance from the EU, due to the fact that we are in Europe, in quite near future, we again can do this, but by even more faster train. So these are my short introductory words. I know that I don't have much time. I prepared a bit longer presentation, so I will try to be very, very fast, very quick. But still, you had a task to find out how many things do you have in common. I have a question. How many of you have ever participated in Euroscola competitions? Or in Euroscola in Strasbourg? Okay, Lithuanians, Latvians, yes, okay. How many of you participated in the European Parliament Ambassador Schools program? Okay, so you see, we found some more common things in both groups, Lithuanian and Latvian. So briefly, I will go through my presentation, but you also can intervene during my talk, and you also will have some few minutes to ask questions afterwards for about 5 minutes or so. That's a very brief presentation of what I'm going to talk about, but since it's not much time, I will do some of the topics very quickly. And first of all, since I think you are all here lovers of the EU, I don't need to remind you the history of the EU. Maybe I should remind one thing, that first of all, the European Union is a peace project. We often forget that. We think it's about traveling, trading, learning, manufacturing, and so on. But first of all, it's about peace. And I think we, here on the edge of the European Union, we remember this quite well. Our common task, our joint task, is also to help to understand the importance of peace in the current European Union, in current world, in current Europe, to some of our neighbors who live further deep somewhere in the center of Europe and don't have external borders of the EU. I'm going to talk about European elections, but first of all, a few words about the context. These European elections, in comparison with ones which took place, which were held 10 years ago, are happening in quite different conditions and situation. During the last 10 years, Europe had some sort of crisis almost every year. We had economic crisis, which was the most harsh. It was in Greece, but also in other South European countries. We, to some extent, those countries and also our countries were also very damaged. We are out of this crisis. At the same time, we still have some threats in, let's say, Italy and even in France. Things are not really going very well yet. We had a huge migration crisis. To some extent, it's over or it's managed. Those migrants who come by sea into the Southern European countries, the numbers are much smaller, but nobody knows what will happen with all the unrest in Africa. If the Middle East is, for the moment, I don't say resolved, but stopped for the moment, frozen, we might face more and more refugees coming from Africa. And of course Brexit. I don't think I need to talk much more about Brexit, because you hear and listen and know about Brexit every day in the news, and nobody knows what will be happening with it. We also have a probability of the second referendum. And we also will have elections to the European Parliament, and 2 weeks ago I was with my colleagues in Strasbourg, and we were discussing if Brexit is postponed, should there be still elections to the European Parliament in the UK? And of course, with all these threats, political situation changed dramatically in Europe. There is a rise of new populistic parties. There is a big threat of disinformation and fake news. So these are all the conditions under which Europeans, all of us, we lived during the last 10 years. Despite of that, citizen support, people's support to the European Union is growing. And our countries belong to those, probably a bit more Lithuania than Latvia, but still Latvia is just above EU average according to citizen support. I know it's small figures and so on, so, oh my God, there is no mouse here, so the EU average is here, Latvia is just above, with 70% of support, and Lithuania is with 90% of support. So the point is that despite of the crisis, citizens, people of European Union, of European countries, they understand, they understand or they feel, or maybe both, that they are safer, that they are better off when they are together in the European Union. Despite of the rise of populistic parties, which say that there is too much power in Brussels, in fact, we have a lot of areas like equal treatment of men and women, energy supply, energy security, industrial policy, promotion of democracy in the world, foreign policy, security, economic, agriculture. The graph shows the blue shows that people think Europe is doing just about enough in these areas. The orange says it's insufficient, the red says excessive, and the gray or brown, don't know. In all areas, European people think that Europe should do more. Just, talking about in general what is on the slide. We can go deep into analysis, but despite of the rise of populistic parties in all areas, people think that you should do more. And then we come to European Parliament and European Parliament's powers. As all of you here are interested in the EU, I believe you know that the European Parliament, like all national parliaments, has legislative role, it discusses the budget of the EU yearly and multi-annual, of course executes parliamentary control of over the European Commission, and of course has to agree with international agreements which are made on behalf of the European Union. Legislation, it's one example which I would like to talk about. We both come from small countries. We both have very few, in comparison with 751 MEPs, we have very few MEPs elected in our countries. And you see one exotic, taste picture. You were saying you wanted free food, so I have an example about food. Sorry, this makes you a bit more hungry, but let's suffer a bit for another 10 minutes. European Union has a lot of common legislation, regulates a lot of areas of life, environment, energy, smoking, cybersecurity, euro, and so on. But there was one example more than 1 year ago. We called it kebab story. And it's a good example to show that even a few votes of our MEPs do matter in the European Parliament. The idea was that the Commission proposed to amend one directive or regulation that food additives, some phosphates, should be allowed also in kebab meat. These chemicals, they make meat more juicy, more red, it stays fresh a little bit longer. They are used in some other meat products, so it was nothing new, it was just to sort of extend the area. And the Commission proposed they should be allowed, and in the European Parliament it became a top issue with discussions. The Environmental and Health Committee of the European Parliament decided no, we shouldn't allow. And the vote went to the plenary sitting. And in order to pass this sort of prohibition, we needed 376 votes. In the European Parliament we have 751, so a majority is 376 votes. So the result of the vote was, in fact, those who were sitting in the plenary room were more of those who were voting in favor, in other words, to forbid, to really not allow using food additives, 373. That would mean that these small businesses making kebabs should buy probably meat more frequently. They should buy new fridges, they should hire more staff, and so on and so on. So the business might all go bankrupt, or kebabs would go more expensive. Or if we support the committee's position, kebabs would be more healthy. So it's for us to decide. The most important issue is that this idea to be supported lacked 3 votes. 3 votes in the European Parliament. How many MEPs does Latvia have? How many members of the European Parliament Latvia has? So, tell me, I don't know. Hey, colleague, how many MEPs? 8, okay. Lithuania? Loud. 11, okay. So we needed only 3. Let's see. Do Latvian votes matter? Out of 8 Latvians, 4 supported the committee's position and 3 were against. So if those would have voted differently, the decision would have been passed. Similar situation with Lithuanians. There was a question of 3 votes, and or let's say 2 Lithuanians and 2 Latvians would have voted differently. Kebabs would become more healthy and more expensive. Which is better, I don't know. So that's to show that even our small countries and MPs matter. That's very one of the examples very down to earth. And in fact, the point is that people do support membership in the European Union. They do understand it's a good thing, but they are lazy to come and vote. I know these are very small figures, but we can send you references. The most important thing that in Latvia, where is Latvia? Somewhere here, I cannot see, and in Lithuania, majority of people do not vote in European Parliament elections because of technical reasons, not because they don't like the EU, they are against the EU. What do they mean by technical reasons? There was a good weather, end of May. I went to the lake, or in case of Latvia, you have Long Beach, I went to the sea. It was my wife's birthday, it was my kid's birthday, or it was raining. I was lazy, I forgot, or I didn't know where to go. And those people, they make this decision during the last week or 2-3 days before elections. So, our most important task, in fact, is for all of us here in this room, for our friends, for our teachers, for our families, for our colleagues at work, is to really unite all our efforts and convince those people who are just lazy at the last minute to come and vote. And we can do it in different ways. One of the things is you also have your badges for that. The European Parliament made a joint website, a common website in all the languages of the European Union. This time I'm voting. Šiuo reisu balsuosiu, šį kartą balsuosiu. So first of all, we invite all of you to join the website and to become volunteer, to become promoter, to organize events locally in the community. And if you inform our office or our colleagues in Riga, all these events will appear on the EU map and they will be publicized and you probably will have more people to come. So to sum up, we all can do small things in our communities in order to show that Lithuanians and Latvians do not only love European Union but also are ready to make this small or big step, just to come and vote once in 5 years. So I think I will finish here because I don't have more time. I have more suggestions, but probably one, maybe more on the website. When you talk to people, so what Europe in fact does for me, there is a very nice website developed also by the European Parliament, 400 stories, what Europe does for you in very, very different areas of your life. And there are more things. So that's probably, I would like to finish here and leave for you to develop more tools, more ideas, how to invite, how to convince people to come and vote on the 25th, I think, of May in Latvia and on the 26th of May in Lithuania. Questions? Remarks? Comments? Arguments?
I'm not sure, but I think it's in 24 in Latvia. Not 25th.
Do you normally vote on Friday, Saturday or Sunday? Traditionally, when Saturday, so then it's 25th. Yeah. Okay, so I leave you with your thoughts and wish you good luck. I will have another meeting with local Telšiai community today at the library, and we will discuss what we can do also here locally.
Yeah, and as far as you don't have questions, I have one question for you, so that you would turn to a neighbor sitting next to you, and you would talk, what is the role that you would like to take before parliament elections? Yeah. What is the role that you would like to take? Is it to convince somebody? Or maybe do nothing? You know, what is the role that you would like to take? Because here we heard examples that you can register, you can promote, you can volunteer. What is the role that you would like to take before these European elections? Just turn to your neighbor sitting next to you, left or right, and have a small chat. What is the thing that you would be ready to do? All right. Let's see. I saw some people talking more, some people less. Maybe somebody had a personal thinking and reflection. Can you just shout out some ideas? What is the role that you would like to see for yourself? How could you help? Anybody? Just some ideas? Okay, so educate yourself, right? So that you would know more about it. Also, how you meant for others?
Like for others, because at the moment, for example, I am very pro-EU, but the situation, I'm not even sure how the EU elections work. What am I electing? Am I electing politicians from my own country? Am I electing someone else? If I myself don't have the knowledge, and I am pro-EU already, then I cannot imagine anyone who doesn't know anything about EU actually wanting to participate in the elections.
Yeah, valid point, I think, yes. So, actually learning ourselves, but also sometimes also learning together with others, maybe trying to understand what's my role, how can I educate myself, but also help others to understand. Yeah, as you say, you already feel positive about it, but still feels like there's a lot to find out. Yeah. Okay, some other ideas? What role would you see for yourself before elections? Yeah, something that you talked in a small group. This shyness or hunger, one or the other, yeah? Or two in one, yes. It's okay, we will we'll prepare for you more voting that which you can do online. It seems like most of people had some say and position right when we asked you to vote online, so we'll prepare some more after lunch, yes?
Yeah, you can vote online now, but you cannot not vote online on European Parliament elections. Don't make like young people in the United Kingdom. They were very angry next day after Brexit referendum. But on the day of Brexit referendum, they only were commenting on Facebook and websites. So on the EP elections day, you have to go live.
Yes. And then with this wish and greeting, would like to thank for you being here with us still in the first part of the day. Now we'll move for lunch, and at 2 o'clock, yes, at 2 o'clock we are gathering back here in this room. Yeah? So thank you very much. Have a good lunch. Labdien. Labadiena. Welcome back. How was your lunch? Like this? Like that? Show me. How was your lunch? Yeah, everybody's happy. Free food, not everybody. What was missing? Chicken was missing. Oh my gosh. Oh well, let's see. Other time, maybe more chicken for people. Yes. All right. So, without further ado, we continue. And just a little bit to bring you back the focus and reaction, and yeah, a bit of like physically, you know, making your blood moving again, because I see some people with the hoods like, okay, don't touch me, don't talk to me. But you will be asked to talk to each other, to have discussions together. and I would like to offer you a small exercise to wake up after lunch break. I will ask my colleague Agna, who is, if you saw, was drawing a lot of interesting things there about crisis in Europe, about elections, about the aim of this event, and there will be more things visualized very soon. Yeah, so feel free at any moment to go up there, see what is going on, talk to Agna also, she can talk.
Yes, I can.
Yes, and so the exercise will be like this. I would like to ask you all to stand up. Okay, now with your left hand, you need to do like that. Left hand, this left hand. And then the right hand finger, any kind of finger, you need to put under, it's like a roof, yeah? And that's like a, a finger that goes under the roof. So you need to find someone like in the line here, so find someone to connect. It could be maybe even backwards a little bit to the other lines, yeah? Okay. But the trick is, you should not touch the hand, but it should be really close. You almost feel vibration of another person's body. Yeah, almost. Now, I will count from 1 to 3, and when I say 3, you need to catch a finger of your neighbor, but avoid to be caught with another hand. Yeah? So 2 things at the same time. Try not to break any fingers, okay? Let's make a deal. Okay. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Alright, that was very smart. Okay, now serious. Okay. Yes. One more time, it was down. 1, 2, 3. I was caught, alright. But, you know what? This is a version, I'm a left-hander. This is a version for the left-handers because you need to grab, you know, and my left hand is stronger than the right one. Let's swap. Right hand like this, left finger like that, yeah? Okay. Focus. Think with both sides of your brain, yeah? Your both hands need to move very quickly. Yes, 2, 3. Alright. Good, thank you very much. Okay. And we were talking already this day that very soon you will be asked to discuss and give your opinion about the future of Europe. And what is this future? And what are these different scenarios that we will be talking about? I will invite you, 2 people who are already on the stage. Again, the heads of both representations of European Commission. Please, welcome. Okay. First of all, Arnoldas on the stage, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Andrew. Well, do you still feel your fingers after they've been eaten up by your neighbors? Well, in the afternoon you'll have an interesting thing to do, a very complicated but I hope very fun thing to do, is when you will break down in the groups, you'll be deciding in the groups in which areas of European politics you should give more money. You will have to imagine yourselves as the heads of governments and state. You know, put yourselves in the shoes of Prime Minister Karinč or President Grybauskaitė, and you are in charge of how European Union looks in the future. Because of course the future can always become whatever we want it to be, but we always need money, right, to pay for that. And if we don't give enough investment, it will never happen. Therefore, the whole exercise will be, in fact, focused on European Union budget. And Andres and I, in this presentation, will try to explain to you in the way we can, in the most simple way possible, the most complicated thing in the European Union, it's budget. But before we start, I would like you again to go to your slide screens, your iPhones, and vote, in your opinion, should the budget remain the same? Should we have less money, or should we have more money for European Union at large? So less, same, or more? My goodness. Wow, my goodness, this is quite dramatic. Now you see, I mean, it's quite clearly in this audience, there is a big appetite for more Europe, for more European policies, or also a strong third is voting for the same budget. That what we have is enough and we shouldn't increase. Only 5% voted for less. But of course, as you can imagine, usually people want always more, but not always it's possible, because money is not appearing from nowhere. It is contributed from every one of the member states. Therefore, it's a big decision where to get that money. And the negotiations, as usual, is I'm sorry, what's going on? There we go. I should probably touch it less and use it only when I need. The negotiations is always a matter of compromise and battle. And even in the European Union, where we're all very civilized and where human rights are very important, everyone forgets it when they go to the negotiation table on the budget. Everyone remembers their national interests, everyone remembers their farmers, their teachers, their constituents, and they battle for the bigger size of the budget for themselves. So this cartoon a bit is maybe a bit dramatic portrayal, but actually that's what happens. Negotiations on the budget are usually brutal, they're super interesting, they're very, very tough, and at the end of the day, everyone is a winner, because every single head of state, so all of you coming back to your countries, tries to portray herself or himself as a winner, that I have won the argument, I have won more money for my teachers, for my farmers, for my scientists, for my regions, for Telšiai, for Jelgava, we'll have more roads, we'll have more schools, we'll have more hospitals, etc. So this image we would like to have you in the mind to understand that in order to achieve the compromise, everyone has to give up a bit of his or hers wishes. Because otherwise, compromise will never happen. And therefore, the negotiations usually happen for many years, well, true, a couple of years, but many weeks and months. So we started already last year to talk about budget, last May, when the European Commission presented a proposal. We're now in February, and we already had 2 rounds of talks between the heads of government. We'll have another one in March, and we'll have another one in October, after European elections, where we hope there will be an agreement. But it might even be postponed to the next year. So it might be the 2 to 3 year negotiation cycle in order for European Union to have its budget agreed for 2021-27, the 7-year budget. And usually what makes the breakthrough is the so-called toothbrush summit. Why we call it a toothbrush? Because usually those long night summits in Brussels happen the whole night until early hours of the morning. And then about 5 or 6 in the morning, every head of state and government goes to their hotel rooms to brush their teeth before they face the press in their press conferences. So our president in Lithuania, Dalia Grybauskaitė, who is very active on Twitter, was tweeting in one of the summits, never thought I would need a toothbrush at negotiations. Indeed, you are well advised to have a toothbrush in your pocket, because those negotiations usually last the whole night with whole drama, like in the conclave where the Pope is elected in the Vatican, in order in the morning for a white cloud to appear from the chimneys of sleepy town Brussels. So I hope you already feel quite dramatic about the budget negotiations. We go back to slide 2, right? Before we start discussing, I would like to see what's going on. Is it done? Here we go. I would like you to answer, using your intuition and your gut feeling, how much do you think currently European Union spends on its budget? GNI is the gross national income, is the whole GDP of European Union. So is it 1%, is it 5%, is it 10%, or is it 15% of the whole European Union GDP, which is used for European Union budget? Well, just let's see what you think. Very interesting. So majority thinks it's 10%, followed by 5%, followed by 15% and 1%. So 1% and 15%, the two extremes, receiving 7 or 8 percentage points. Now, the real answer. It is 1% only. And, oops, so on. This is not me. Vitaly, what's going on? Here we go.
Wait a moment.
This is Russian hacking happening. My goodness, they hacked our computer. Well, so, how big is the European Union budget? In fact, it is only 1% of the whole European Union's GNI, meaning very, very small. The European Union, which overall has 508 million people, has per year 155 billion euros to spend on European policies. As compared, for instance, to Denmark, our great northern neighbor, where a country of 5 billion, so 100 times less than European Union as such, is spending pretty much the same amount for its national budget, right? And here you have also comparison with our countries, Latvia and Lithuania, both proud, slightly smaller, but nevertheless very important members of the European Union, each spending 9 to 13 billion per year for their national budgets. So 155 is a very little money, in fact. It sounds a lot. It sounds a lot for Jelgava. It sounds incredibly a lot for Telšiai. But for the whole European Union, this is a very scarce amount of money, and therefore it has to be spent in a very effective and smart way, right? You have little money, so you have to really be careful where you spend it. This is how it looks like. You know, the whole European Union, 14 trillion, the 28 public expenditure, 6. And then 155 billion only the EU annual budget. So really a small portion of the whole picture. In fact, if you look at how much it costs for every citizen, we call it a cappuccino index. Of course, we didn't have cappuccino today. We had coffee, but if you add some milk, it becomes cappuccino. So in fact, for a simple Latvian or a simple Lithuanian, for a common citizen in our countries, EU budget costs 36 to 39 euro cents, while Luxembourgish would in fact contribute to the EU budget the most with 1.56 euros into the EU budget. So in fact, in Latvia and in Lithuania, probably even cappuccino costs a bit more, right, than 36, 39. I don't know in Jelgava, how much does it cost in Jelgava? In Vilnius, it's like 2 euros. In Riga, probably the same, even more. so so you see that the contribution of every citizen is in fact also very, very symbolic for the European Union budget. But we expect so much from Europe. We expect so much because it needs to deal with so many questions and so many problems. And increasingly so. Daiva, in her excellent presentation on the European Parliament, already mentioned all the issues which are really, clouding Europe, like those horrible clouds at the moment, with those, plates falling at the same time, and we have only two hands to grasp them, and we somehow need to deal with them. Brexit being the biggest one, we're in the middle of negotiations. One of our member states has decided in a democratic way to leave us. As we say, we regret, but we respect. And in fact, I sometimes remember that it's not the first time that British Isles separate from Europe. Do you know when was the first time? Take a wild guess. How many years ago?
During colonialism.
During colonialism, which means how many years ago?
100.
A bit more. Anyone? I know. I will not. How to say? Make you suffer. 250,000 years ago, the British Isles, for the first time, separated from the continent of Europe. But they did it without a referendum, not in a democratic way, in a very brutal way, and at that time there was nobody, to cry and to regret. Now we have the democratic way of separation, which of course takes a lot of our energy and time, a lot of uncertainty until March 29th, and also a big impact for the budget, which we discussed today. Possibly 12 to 13 billion euros per year will have less because of Britain leaving. So Britain leaving also means a lot of contributions are also leaving the European Union. And we'll have less money, but yet we have so much more to do. We need to deal with hybrid threats, cybersecurity, information warfare. We need to deal with the refugee crisis or the aftermath of the refugee crisis. Now we are building the common migration policy, asylum policy, the common European border guard, right? Which needs a lot of finance. President Juncker, our big boss, Jean-Claude, has proposed 10,000 patrols in this new EU Coast Guard, so that there will be 10,000 people helping countries like Greece or Italy next time a similar refugee crisis appears like in 2015. For that you need a lot of investment. You need a lot of investment for security and defense, where European Union more and more is building its capabilities and deepening its dimension. You also have to prepare for Industry 4.0, for a completely new fourth industrial revolution, for the age of robotics, for the age of indeed the 3D printing, for the age of artificial intelligence, for the age of blockchain, and there, if European Union wants to succeed and to be competitive vis-à-vis China, vis-à-vis United States, vis-à-vis India or Brazil, it needs to invest. It needs to invest in science, in research, in new technologies, in order to be right at the forefront of that. Plus, climate change. Fighting climate change and investing in environment, in better water access, in better food standards, in also eliminating the single-use plastics, right? This is happening all over Europe. All of that is requiring a lot of finance. So in fact what we have is what I call the Harry Potter dilemma. How to do more with less. We have much more to settle, yet we have much less money to do so. And you will have today to solve this issue. Not a small task. So to get you into the files, into the specific policies, I invite Andres to take over.
Thanks, Arnoldas. I'm going to take my hands. Yeah, Arnoldas already gave you the outlook of your dilemma you will be solving. I would add a few more points on this dilemma, is that it's not all the countries are willing that the budget of the EU is, well, at least the same or a bit smaller. They are probably much more for reducing EU budget. Because as you could imagine, there are some guys who pay more in the EU budget, some countries. Some guys, I mean the heads of state and government, and some who receive more from EU budget. Can you guess who are those who pay more in EU budget than they receive, those countries? Germany, France, Italy, so. Actually, it's, I think, the most of those are Germany, yes, but Germany is very much pro-increasing EU budget. But for example, Netherlands, Sweden, Austria, they are so-called, we call in our jargon, net payers, meaning they are paying more. And it's not very often that they are for increasing EU budget. So actually our heads of state and government, Prime Minister Kariņš, President Grybauskaite, have to go to those capitals and convince that it's so important to retain the budget as it is, at least, or probably increase. That's one thing. Another thing, also you have a map of European regions. Why is it here? Because one of very important policies where many of us feel those benefits of these policies, so-called cohesion policy or regional policy. So these are all the funds which are flowing into our nice towns. I'm sure here in Telšiai there are a lot of projects implemented in Jelgava. If you look, many things which have been developed actually in Jelgava have been done thanks to EU funds. So of course for us it's very important that we continue on the same path. But as we see, the road is not so rosy. For example, the challenge, and you will be also discussing for Lithuania, is that Lithuania, from one point of view, is very good. It has achieved 3/4 of the EU income average. So meaning that its income is above 75% of EU average. And then the rules say, no, then you don't get full support of EU funds. For Latvia it's a bit different because Latvia is around 65%, so we'll still be catching up in the EU average. But anyway, there are some proposals which say, so our countries will receive less this cohesion funding. So you will have to also discuss how to probably convince our colleagues in other member states that this funding has to remain the same. Probably you have heard these discussions already. And here this map probably shows also these good achievements we have. That you see that in northern part and also in the central part of the Europe that the countries have been actually doing quite well because over 2008-2015 their growth has been, you see, these are in positive, these blue colors are positive growth. And you see that still a lot of challenge also remains in southern countries because in Spain, Greece, Italy, also in parts of France, this growth hasn't materialized. You see that it has even decreased. So a lot of challenges European regions are facing. And of course everyone wants its own share, you know, of the funds. Another important thing is, Arnoldas told that EU budget is not so big, but I think for this region, for these countries, these contributions have been very important because when we look at the history, you remember, you're a bit younger than now, there was financial crisis, economic crisis that hit our countries. Probably some of your parents lost their jobs, etc. Then the EU funds were, at least in Latvia, I don't know exact figure, but I assume it's quite similar. Like in Latvia, the EU funds during the crisis were contributing or they were like 70% of the total investment. So the country didn't have budget funds to invest in schools and roads. Then 70% of those funds were EU funds. So very important driver of growth, if we speak about economic terms. So that's why I think this is one of the policies you will be discussing, right? Yeah? Yeah? It's complicated, clear? Okay. Then, I like we chose this picture because in a way it shows the history and probably the future. Because the second important also expenditure part of the EU budget is agricultural policy. And actually it's one of most, let's say, historic policies, because it was already started in 1960s, so when Europe was still in its making. And in a way, you see also that it was in all times supporting traditional agriculture. So the idea of that policy or of this money was to keep farmers working where they are, basically, because I mean, as you probably know, it's not always so easy that potato grows and everything is fine, and suddenly you have floods and you are probably in big trouble, like our farmers were over past years, either floods or too dry weather, And but nowadays, this agricultural policy is much more than just to support those who grow potatoes, because it's also about supporting local economy, like supporting small businesses in villages. It's also about looking after agriculture and thinking about environment, because of course agriculture is polluting, right? So it's also to implement new technologies. It's also to work with those, probably some of you also, especially in Jelgava, because in Jelgava you have big agriculture, it's historically agriculture university, big young farmers, because EU is supporting young farmers. EU is giving funds for those who want to be farmers. Probably sometimes it's not so easy, on an empty place or in farm of your dad or granddad to start. So EU is supporting that as well. So many things are in this new, let's say, agricultural policies. Also, some parts related to renewable energy, etc. So a lot of new things in agriculture, but still very important. If you ask any of the governments, then agriculture is important for France, for Germany. You know who go to protest in Brussels most? Arnoldas has worked many years in Brussels. It's always farmers. They are with tractors, they are with milk, with everything. So they always are very organized, actually. It's one of the most organized communities, So it's always some problems with farmers in Brussels who come. But of course they come and they demand this funding because they lack something and they need something. And EU budget is one of the things how they can be supported. And also in this crisis, when you have floods, EU has been supporting. There have been special decisions also over the last years to support farmers. Okay, we move forward. That's more your thing, It's Erasmus, and Erasmus is basically education exchange program with different elements, and we was it last year, right? We celebrated 30 years of Erasmus already, and there are many people who have benefited from Erasmus, even some of those who sit in important places in Brussels. Even some of our commissioners have been Erasmus students. So this is also one of the things where we can see how EU can add value, right? Because thanks to those programs, you also in your schools and then when you'll move to universities, you'll be able to go on Erasmus in whatever place you want. When I was studying, I couldn't have this possibility. So it's really very good. We'll see what happens with the United Kingdom, whether you'll be able to go to Oxford or other nice universities there. It's not very clear, but of course you'll have all the other universities all over the Europe where you'll be able to go and exchange your experience, gain friends, etc. Have fun at the end. So this is also very important. And then when you go to the next level, when from students in universities you'll become scientists, then there's a very important funding for exchange in science, because there again sometimes probably you invent something, but you need to share with your colleagues in other, let's say, research institutes, and then you apply for EU grant, you get a project, you cooperate with your colleagues in Europe, and you develop new product, and probably you, by developing some new device for your phone or new program, you can sell it at the end, and you become billionaire. Very simply, like there are those stories who could imagine that guys in Estonia who invented Skype, you know, and then sold all this idea will become increasingly rich. Well, probably rich is not the happiness, but anyway, it's also a driver of European development. So, and this program is called Horizon. It's probably not so important for you how this program is called, but the main idea is that exchange in science, investing in new technologies, investing in research, bring very good results. Because of course, it's not only our countries, but the whole Europe has to compete with China. China is a growing tiger. It has to compete with the United States, because there, in those countries, investments in science, in research are very high. In our countries, it's still catching up. So this also is very important when you will be discussing. Now, who remembers Euro? This year, actually, we are celebrating the 20th anniversary of Euro. And for us, I think, and also for you, for Latvians 5 years, for Lithuanians 4 years, Euro, we think it's something, you know, granted already. But probably as citizens who use Euro, as consumers, we don't think probably about bigger picture, because imagine that we are part of 19 countries. Imagine it hasn't happened for long in history that 19 countries share the same currency. But it's not only the currency, it's also that those countries share many common principles, how they manage their economy, meaning what kind of decisions they take, they coordinate those decisions. They are helping in a way each other. If one country is in trouble, all the countries basically pay in so that they can help. Like when for example, probably less Lithuania, more Latvia, when this financial crisis hit, who came to help? It was European Commission, and there was a special, it's a funding available to help, because Latvian budget was on the verge of being bankrupt. So next day there was no money in treasury. And that's why it's very important that we are part of bigger system. It's not only that we as consumers use single currency, which is very handy. Imagine 20 years ago, when I started to go to Brussels, we were still having Belgian francs, and this exchange rate was something terrible. We were using lats, we were very proud. Lithuanian colleagues, you were using litas. We were all proud about our currencies. It was very nice. But still, when these shocks come, then of course, it's for more stable and bigger currency, it's much more easier to live with these shocks, because imagine, probably you heard that some of our countries have been also dealing with fighting this illegal money, you know, and that the other important countries and investors probably wouldn't trust our countries. And with our own currencies, it would have been very difficult to survive. With Euro, it's much more easier. I'm not speaking about these simple things that you go to any of Eurozone countries and you don't have to think how to convert, and you can compare the prices. It's so easy. I was actually yesterday with my sons, they're 9 years old, and they have Project Week, and their theme of the week is money. So we're discussing, and they couldn't understand that there was lat, there was probably ruble all times, and that now it's so easy. Huh? You are just going to the countries, and you don't face these problems. So let's keep at the same spirit with Euro, and with keeping Eurozone, and also with, let's say, coordinating and also working further on how to improve things, because of course not everything is perfect. But what is important is that it's second biggest currency, and our bosses also have decided that this currency has to become even more important. So we have to compete with dollar, so that there are more and more payments done in euros in the world, because number one currency is still dollar. But this young 20 years old currency, I think, is very good competitor to US dollar. So now we have another Slido exercise, right?
Wait, another one. They can.
It's there already? No, it's yeah.
So you have heard Andres describing the policies, right? Cohesion and agriculture and science and research and euro and whatnot. All the policies which require financing of the European Union. What we would like you to ask now is not where you would like to spend more, but in fact, where you would like to cut. Because this is the problem at the moment, the European Union. We need to cut somewhere, and that is a very painful thing to decide. Where should we give less money rather than more? So let's see what you will vote for. Which area should be funded less by the European Union? My goodness, migration is leading. Agriculture is number 2. Some of your probably neighbors and parents will not be happy about that. Defense. Nobody wants to cut in youth mobility. That's strange. Digital economy as well. Nobody wants to cut. Eurozone. Research.
I think we are safe with our main policies, no?
Yeah, true.
They are not cutting them.
Well, that's very interesting. In fact, Anders, I don't know how you look at these results, but I think they also explain regional differences in Europe. Because when we look at the Eurobarometer, which is every month checking the mood across Europe and what issues are important. So if you go to South, Greece, Portugal, Spain, they will tell you which area is most important. They will say migration is most important. They'll say fighting terrorism is most important. If you go to the Northern Europe, Sweden and Finland, etc., they will probably say digital economy is most important. You know, sustainability and environment is most important. If you go to Baltic states, people here mostly will say social exclusion, unemployment, and of course security in terms of our big neighbor. So it's really a very diverse Europe, and the fact that you voted for migration also explains that, because in the Baltic region this is not a big problem at the moment, right? We don't feel it. We don't feel it the way the Greeks feel it, or the Italians, or Portuguese. If you were at the table, you would cut it, but you would also cut agriculture. And the way I also interpret it is that you are the generation which sees the added value of Europe but much more in digital, research, exchange and youth mobility than in the old policies like the agriculture. Very interesting result. What do you think?
Self-explaining, I think.
Yeah,
you explained very well, I think it's right.
Right. And this is the last slide of our presentation, which of course brings it back to the Lord of the Rings, with Gandalf and Frodo, and which I think encapsulates the philosophy of our big boss, Jean-Claude Juncker, who talks about being big on big and small on small. Big and small. So being big on the big things, on the big policies, where we all as European Union need to work together, where we cannot do alone. So issues like migration, like defense, like research, right? Like climate. We cannot individually, as Latvia, as Lithuania, as Portugal, as Malta, change the world. We cannot make a difference. We can only make it together as a whole. And let's be smaller on the small things, which can be dealt much better on the ground by the member states and by the regions. in Jelgava, in Telšiai, in Mažeikiai, you know, there are issues which are dealt much better on the ground than in Brussels or in Vilnius and in Riga. So this is the philosophy of this commission. We will be very intrigued to see what will be your approach when you go to the breakdown sessions. Whether you want to focus on really big issues where, you know, European Union is competing globally, or whether you think European Union should also regulate the small bits and details of everyday life, of which it is sometimes accused. So I hope we provoked you for the discussion. We still have about maybe 5 minutes, so if you have any questions that you would like to ask Andris or myself on any of those policies, on anything else, this is the moment. Or everything is so unclear that we left you all completely confused. If not, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And good luck in your exercise.
Thank you very much. I thought I will call you 18. Arnoldas and Andris, yes. So thank you very much. I hope that gave a background. That's a lot to comprehend and a lot to digest in a way. I can imagine these are not the words that we might use every day, really, in our life or in our school. But still, you were saying you were dealing about budgets in your families, you were dealing about money, you were discussing Europe before. So we'll try to combine these things and then have a discussion. You probably noticed that when I ask somebody if anybody has a question or to share an idea, it's difficult in a big group. Only few, the bravest ones, can say what you think in front of this big crowd. That is why we want that discussion would happen in smaller group. Yeah? And even in the smaller group, you will break down in smaller subgroups where you will end up with a group of 5-6 people. And there we expect that you will be brave enough to speak out to a tiny group of people and have a meaningful discussion there. Yeah, so that you can hear arguments of each other, your thoughts, your feelings about certain things. And when it comes to that kind of process of discussing something that you might not know, you might not know all the details, I would like also to invite you sometimes to listen for your intuition, yeah, or for your own heart, to see where do you stand in this. What Europe should be doing more and what it should be doing less. And sometimes you might not have all the statistics, all these graphs and everything, but follow your own feeling, but also listen for the arguments and for the language of other people. Yeah. And you will find, we understand English can be complicated sometimes. That's why we prepared all information in all 3 languages, Latvian, Lithuanian and English, on every table in every group. So please refer, take your time to read through if you're not sure exactly what you need to choose, because it's good to know what you are choosing and what you are just suggesting, right? So that will be the process, and it will be explained in more details by the group moderators. Also, before going to the groups, maybe you will use the stairs or the elevator. You can always take a look what Agna was drawing and visualizing over there. So again, maybe you can pick up your favorite corner and make a picture of it, or just see how all the input, all the information was transformed into the visual language.